Good morning, students. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the topic remote procedure calls, called as RPC. We are coming to the introduction about RPC. Here, RPC is remote procedure call. It will be used for execute programs which is not in the same process. See, it will allows the programs to call the procedures located in other machines. Let's take an example. When a process is on machine A, calls a procedure on machine B, here the calling process is on A. Whenever the calling process is on A and the calling process is on B, the calling process A will suspend the execution of the called procedure that will take place on B. And then the information can be transported from the caller. Information can be transported from caller to the callee in the form of parameters and can come back in the procedure result. Here, let's take an example. The caller is on client machine. The callee is on server machine. The caller wants to execute the program which is on the callee's machine. That is nothing but server machine. Then the client will pass the parameters to the process which is on another machine, and the executed result will be come back to the caller. Now here, this is one type of message. This RPC is one type of message passing technique. See here, no message passing at all visible to the no message passing at all is visible to the programmer. Here, this method is known as RPC or remote procedure call. See, it is also said as special case of message passing model. It has become widely accepted because of the following reasons. First one is it is very simple and it will use simple call syntax and similarity to the local procedure. It is very similar to the local procedure executing, even though the procedure is not in the client machine. Okay, it is easy to use and it is very efficient and it is having more generality. And the main function of this one is this RPC is it is mainly used in inter-process communication. It is used in inter-process communication mechanism. Here, the RPC can be executed on the processes on the different machines, or it is also between processes which is on the same machine for the different process, and the process which is running on the different machine, which can be used. Coming to the RPC model, it is very similar and commonly used procedure call model. It works on the following manner. See, this is the functionality of RPC model. First point, for making a procedure call, the caller passes the arguments to the procedure in some well-specified location. First, we need to know the address space of the procedure. And the caller places the arguments. The caller will pass the arguments to the procedure or the program or a subroutine. Okay. Second point, here control is transferred to the sequence of instructions that constitutes the body of the procedure. Now the control is transferred to the sequence of instructions. Okay. Third point, here first the procedure body. If the procedure or subroutine or a program, both all are same. Here the procedure body is executed in newly created executing environment that includes copies of the arguments given in the calling instruction. First, the procedure body is to be executed. After passing the arguments and the control is transferred to the sequence of instruction, thereafter the procedure body is to be executed. Now, fourth point, after the procedure execution is over, the control returns to the calling point and returning a result. Once the procedure execution is done, now the control is returns to the caller. And the same result will be returned to the caller. Okay, these are the 4 points, 4 major points of RPC model. And the next point is, here the RPC enables a call to made a procedure that does not reside in the address space of the calling process. Here, who is the calling process? Here, the calling process is executing a program which is not in the local disk, which is not in the local address space. Here, this RPC enables a call to made a procedure that does not reside in the address space of calling process. This is next one. Since the caller and callee processes, here callee means where the procedure is resided, where the procedure address space is present, that is called as callee. Since the caller and callee processes have disjoint address space, the remote procedure has no access to data and variables of caller's environment. Here, both caller and callee processes having disjoint address space. Those are not in same address space. Now, the remote process has not having an access to data and variables of caller's environment. Okay. Next, here the RPC facility uses a message passing scheme for information exchange between the caller and callee process. Here, how these are, this is the part of inter-process communication, right? In the part of inter-process communication, this RPC facilitate us to communicate both processes, calling process and callee process. It will use a technique of message passing. Now, see the process on arrival of request message. Who will request? The caller will request. On the arrival of request message, the server process. Who is the server? The callee is the server. First, what it will do, it will extract the procedure parameters. The caller will send the parameters, right? Now, the receiver or server extract the procedures parameters, and after extracting the procedure parameters, it starts executing and it will compute the result and send a reply message to the caller and then awaits for next call message. Simple technique. This is the, if you know these 3 points, you can able to understand the RPC completely. First, who will send the request? On the arrival of request message, the request message is sent by the caller process. It will reach us to the server process. Then the server will extract the procedure parameters. After that, it will start executing with the parameters passed by the caller. Next, it will compute the result, and the same result will be replied to the caller, and the server will wait for the next call message. That means it will wait for the next request. In the next slide, you will clearly understand the process. See here in this diagram, you are having a caller and callee processes. Caller is assumed to be client process and callee is assumed to be server process. Here, first what happens? Caller or client sends a request message. That request message contains remote procedures parameters. Through this request message, client will pass the parameters to the procedure be executed in the server machine or in the Poly machine. After passing this request message, see, the server process receives the request and start the procedure execution. Once the request is received, and it will start procedure execution. Now this is the time taken to execute the procedure. You'll see the difference. This is these dotted lines. This is very, very important. Till this time, till the procedure execution is completed, the server is suspended the process, suspends the execution. See, server is suspended till the procedure is executed in the server machine. Once the procedure execution completed, the server machine sends a reply and wait for the next request. Now, once the result is reached to the caller machine, it will resume the execution, and the server will wait for the next request. See here, this is a reply message containing the result of the procedure execution. Okay, see, in order to execute a procedure or a subroutine or a program not in the same process in the same machine or in other machine, first the client process will pass the parameters. Client process will pass the parameters, and after receiving the request, and the server process will start the execution by parameters given by the client process. Until the server process is executed, till the server process execution is completed, the client is suspended. See, this dotted line is represented. See here what they mentioned, resume execution. Here the execution is suspended. When it will be resumed its execution, after sending the process result to the client, then it will resume its execution. This is the RPC procedure and how it will be executed. This is called as remote procedure call model. Next. Here in the remote procedure call, only one of the two processes is active at a given time. That is what we have seen in the diagram. If server process is executing the procedure, then the client process suspends its execution. When it will be resumed after receiving the result from the executed process, then it starts its execution. That means either of the two processes will be active in a given time. Now, it is not always necessary that caller process gets blocked. In the previous slide, see here, in the previous slide, the caller process starts blocked. It is not always necessary that caller process gets blocked. Sometimes the server process also got blocked. Why? Because only one process, either of the two, either of two processes, only one can be executed. Here, the third point, there can be RPC implementations depending on the parallelism of caller and callee environment. Here, what is the next implementation? Parallelism. Parallelism means the client, there is no blocking. If server process is executing the procedure, the client process got blocked. If the server process is requested, the client process is start executing the process, then the server process is got blocked. Now, what we required, what the implementation of RPC is, parallelism of caller and callee's environment. That means simultaneously both client and server can execute the programs. This is the implementation of RPC. Now, see the fourth point. The RPC could be asynchronous so that the client may do useful work while waiting for reply from server. See here in the previous diagram, client sends a request and it will wait for the reply from the server. Here, the server could create a thread to process an incoming request so that the server is free to receive other requests. See, what the server could do is it should create a thread. Okay, it should create a thread so that the server is free from receiving the other requests. Only it will get the client requests. Okay. This slide shows us the differences between the remote procedure calls and the local procedure calls. Okay. See, the first one, unlike the local procedure call with remote procedure calls, see, as I told you, the disjoint address space. It is disjoint address space and absence of shared memory and making call by reference using addresses in arguments and pointers. See here, first one is the address space. Here, the client process or caller process wants to execute a program or a subroutine or a procedure which is not in the local disk, Okay, sometimes it may be in the local disk running in another process. Most of the times it will be on other machines which is not in the same address space. That is said to be disjoint address space. And here there is no shared memory. Here there is no shared memory and there is no call by reference. Previously, we are passing the arguments by call by reference and call by value. Here there is no call by reference and using the addresses in arguments and pointers. The second difference between RPC and local procedure calls, RPC and LPC. Here RPCs are more vulnerable to failure because possibility of processor crashes or communication problems of a network. The first one, here in case of local procedure call, there is a less possibility of failure, where in RPC the first possibility of failure is possibility of processor crashes. If processor is crashes, it is not possible to execute the procedure. Okay, or the next possibility is the communication problem. The client machine and server machine got having communication problem, and if there is a communication problem, the request message and the reply message between the client and server will be not possible. So that in these cases, RPC is said to be more vulnerable. Now, third one, RPCs are very much more time consuming than LPC due to the environment of communication network. Why? Because it is not in case of LPC, it is executing a subroutine which is in the local disk. In case of RPC, it needs to be execute the procedure not in the same machine, which is in the other machine. If the procedure is in the other machine, the main concept is the communication, because the communication is very important. So it will take more time to execute the RPC than LPC. Why? Because it deals with the communicating network. Now see, implementing the RPC mechanism. See, the implementation of RPC mechanism involves the majorly 5 elements. Those are client step, RPC runtime, server step, and server. Here, first one, the client step are one instance of RPC runtime execute on client machine. See here, what is the difference between client and client stub? First, we need to understand this point. Here, what is the meaning of stub? In a distributed computing environment, A stub is it is also a piece of code, or it is a small amount of code that converts the parameters passed between the client and server during RPC. See here, we are having two stubs here, client stub and server stub. The responsibility of stub is nothing but a simple small piece of code. The major responsibility of this stub in distributed computing environment is here that stub converts the parameters. Here client machine is passing parameters to the program which is in the server machine, right? It converts the parameter passed between the client and server during a remote procedure call. Okay, next. That is what client and client stub, server and server stub. That I will show you in the execution of the diagram program. As for see the third one, as far as the client is concerned, the remote services are accessed by the user by making ordinary LPC. Here, as far as the client is concerned, the remote services are accessed by the user making ordinary local procedure call. Now see about stubs. Here, these stubs will provide a normal or local procedure call abstraction by concealing the underlying RPC mechanism. These stubs will make an important role in remote procedure call. Let's see how it will works. Suppose, as I told you in the previous slide, the example is client machine is passing a request to the server machine. Okay. After passing the request, the server machine will get the request, and that request is containing the parameters which is passed by the sender or client. Okay. Here, those parameters needs to be converted. Those parameters needs to be converted by server stub at server machine, and vice versa in the client machine. Okay. Next, the second point, a separate stub procedure is associated with both client and server process, client stub and server stub. To hide the underlying communication network, RPC communication package known as RPC runtime is used on both sides. Here, the RPC runtime is used on both sides, and this will uses for RPC communication. Okay. See, this will give you the clear picture. This diagram resembles the implementation of RPC mechanism. Just see my cursor point. This is client machine and this is server machine. In the client machine, first it will take the client's call and pack that client call. Okay, this will be done by client stub. This will be done by the client stub. Next, RPC runtime is both sides. RPC runtime is on both sides, at client side and the server side. And this RPC runtime will send the client request that in the form of packet. That is called call packet. Okay, this packet is received by the server machine. Here the server machine receives the call packet, and once the call packet is received, it is unpacked by server stub. It is unpacked by server stub. Next, it will execute the call. Okay, it will execute the procedure. Call is nothing but a procedure. It will execute the procedure. Upon execution, the executed result will be returned to the client. Needs to be returned to the client, right? So it will be returned by packing. It will be returned. The executed result will be returned by the server machine to the client, and it will be packed by using server stub. And by using RPC routine, the packed result will be the result packet will be transported. This is marshaled. I will show you. I will tell you what is marshalling in the next slides. It will reaches to the client machine. Okay. Once the client machine receives the result packet and it is unpacked by the client stub. And after unpacking, it is returned to the client. See, you need to start the process from here. This is a client procedure. This is a client call. Okay. By using this client call, it wants to execute a process, or it wants to execute a subroutine or a program or a procedure which is on the server machine. First, it will transfer the call to the client stub. In the client stub will pack the call and the RPC runtime will send. See here, RPC runtime will send the packet, call packet to the receiver. See here, wait. After sending this call packet, it will wait until it get result. As I told you, it will be blocked. The process execution will be blocked until the process will get the result. Until the calling process will get result. Here it will wait for getting the result, and this call packet is received to the receive server. And once it is received, it is unpacked by using server stub, and the call will be executed. Okay, here the parameters will be came here. By using these parameters, the server program, the program which is on the server machine, the procedure on the server machine, the subroutine on the server machine will be executed, and the result will be returned by packing. The packing will be done by the server stub, and this will be transported to the client machine by RPC runtime, and through network the result packet is transported to the client machine back. After receiving the result, it will send to the client stub to unpack that one. After unpacking, finally it will reach us to the client machine. Here in this diagram, we have seen the client. What are the components? I tell you: client, server, client stub, server stub, RPC runtime. What is the responsibility of RPC runtime here? It will send and it will receive the request. It will send the request to the server machine and it will receive the result from the server machine. Okay. These are communicated. Here for this communication, for this remote procedure call, here the network plays very, very important role. If this communication network is good, then it will be okay. Otherwise, it will take more time to get access, more time to get the result. This particular diagram resembles the implementation of RPC mechanism. Now see, coming to the client stub, the responsibility of client stub. Here, the client stub is responsible for mainly two tasks. On receipt of call request from the client, see here, on receipt of call request from the client. Here we are discussing about this particular part, client stub. Here it will receive a call request from the client. Call request from the client. It packs the specification of target procedure. It packs the specification of target procedure and the arguments into a message. Okay, what it will pack? It will pack a specification of target procedure. Where is the procedure? The procedure is in the target machine. For the target machine procedure, we need to pass the arguments. We need to pass the parameters into a message and asks the local RPC runtime to send to the server stub. See what happens after packing. It will ask the local RPC. This is the local RPC to the client, and this is the local RPC to the server. It will ask the local RPC to send the to send it to server stub. See, who will receive after this after sending, the server will receive. Okay. Next, on the receipt of, this is at the sending part, on the receipt of result of procedure execution, it unpacks the result and passes to the client. This is this side. After receiving the result, it will unpack it and pass it to the client. This is the responsibility of client stub. Now moving to the RPC runtime. What is the importance of RPC runtime? It handles the transmission of messages across the network between the client and server machine. Here, RPC runtime handles the transmission of messages across the network between client and server machine. Now, it is responsible for retransmission. If any problem happens in the communication network, it is responsible for retransmission, and it is responsible for acknowledgements, routing information, and as well as for security encryption information. Next one, server stub. We have completed the client stub. Now the turn is for server stub. It is responsible for, see, on the receipt of call request message. Okay, the client sends request on the receipt of call request message from the local RPC runtime. See, on the receipt of, we are talking about the server stub, on the receipt of request from the local RPC runtime. This runtime is called local RPC runtime for the server machine. On receipt of a call request message from the local RPC runtime, what it will do, it will unpacks it and makes a perfectly normal call to invoke the appropriate procedure in the server. Okay, at the client side, it will be packed. At the server side, the server stub unpacked that one, unpacked, and it will makes a perfectly normal call. Okay, to invoke the, we need to invoke the procedure. We need to invoke the procedure which is in the server machine. Next, on the other side, on the receipt of result of procedure execution from the server, see, this is the first point is related to this one. Next one, after receiving the result from the server, what the server stub will do? Server stub will do pack the result. It will pack the result and send it to the local RPC runtime. Local RPC runtime. This local RPC runtime forward the result to the result packet to the client machine. Okay, these are the responsibilities of server stub. Okay. Now, how these, I told you marshalling, right? Marshalling arguments and results. See, from client to server, the arguments are marshaled, and from server to client, the results are marshaled. Okay, this marshalling and unmarshalling, how it will be done. Okay, see, the arguments and results in RPC are language level data structures which are transferred in the form of message data. Here, either the request or reply, both will be, either the request or reply, both are transferred in the form of message data. Here, the transfer of data between two computers requires encoding and decoding of message. Why? Because this encoding and decoding are required because the reason, the security. Here, encoding and decoding messages in RPC is known as marshalling and unmarshalling. Okay, marshalling and unmarshalling is called as encoding and decoding. See, In the next class, we are going to discuss about the working of RPC, the working of RPC, working procedure of RPC. Okay. As of now, we have seen the implementation of RPC mechanism and how the client and server will exchange the information as the part of inter-process communication. Okay. That's it for today, students. In tomorrow's class, we will see the procedure.